Race 9 on Saturday at Aqueduct is another edition of the New York Stallion Series. Big money up for grabs for the two-year-old fillies in this one. $500,000 as the person here. I'm Gino Buccola alongside David Aragona. Let's head on out and take a look at the field. As we do, you guys need to subscribe down below if you can, guys and gals. That'll help us out quite a bit. That way you're alerted every time that we have a preview just like this. David, as we take a look at the field, some of the horses who I think will get a lot of support in here. You have towards the outside, Stone Smuggler, no surprise, going to be a major player. Boston's Finest, another one. These are horses who are coming off of good efforts, but a lot of lightly raced horses. And compared to, I think, the other race where we had a few that are sort of head and shoulders above, maybe more lukewarm favorites in here in a more wide open group.
Yeah, you don't have standouts on form in this Fifth Avenue division like you did in the Great White Way, which will be the race just prior to this. But as we discussed with that race, a lot of money on the line, $500,000 purse. So no surprise to see a large field. This a New York Stallion Series race. So any horse that is sired by a sire standing in New York is eligible for it. And a lot of connections that have eligible horses just want to take a shot for the big pot.
Let's take a look at the Timeform US Pace Projector. How do our friends think this thing is going to play out? Rock is the one up front, and then you have a couple horses behind with Bam's Bliss Kiss and Mischief Lady. I mean, these are all horses who were forwardly placed in the debut. The one sat a little bit last time out, Bam's Bliss Kiss, but with the rail draw, she'll probably be forced in here. Not really a surprise for me.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this pace does play out because it feels like there is plenty of speed signed on in here. I mean, even some horses that are shown in the second flight there, like the number 5 Blossoming Erudite has plenty of speed, as does the number 12 Stone Smuggler. So will be interesting to see who is really aggressively ridden towards the front. I would venture a guess that the pace projector is correct, and Rock might be the fastest of all of those speeds in the early stages, having made the front in a race that featured plenty of speed as well, the Key Sense last time, but she faded late that day, and I think the 7 furlong distance is going to be a real test of stamina for some of these fillies that are trying it for the first time.
Well, you talked about the Key Sense. The one, Bam's Bliss Kiss, was in the Key Sense, so we can meet the field now as we take a look at Bam's Bliss Kiss. Was 4th that day. She was 5th. She was early on. She was about 2 lengths off or so. She was in between horses in the 2 paths. She made an early move right up into contention at the top of the lane. It's a little bit green. She had a tough time switching leads and kind of going on with it and straightening out. I thought she ran pretty well. I think I would like her more, David, if she didn't draw down on the inside, because I'm just worried about the trip that she gets down here. I feel like she might be forced to get into the race a little bit more quickly than she would like to if she could sit off and make the move like she did last time. What do you think about her chances in here, Bam's Bliss Kiss?
Yeah, I think you highlighted the key factor with her. It's probably a different trip coming this day than she got in the Key Sense, where she broke from an outside post, was able to just sit out there, perched 3 to 4 wide most of the way, and make her move when the jockey wanted to. And she still couldn't really finish off that race. She got there in mid-stretch and was swallowed up by the closers late, including a pretty talented one and With the Angels, who I think we're going to talk about beating a lot of these horses as we go through the field. But with Bam's Bliss Kiss kind of struggling to finish off her 6.5 race 2 back and her 6th race last time, I wonder about her getting the 7 furlongs, especially if she's under the gun from the rail.
Number 2, Stunning Sugar will step up after facing softer and winning by 6 lengths in a maiden special weight over at Finger Lakes. She did beat Open Company in that race. It was an open maiden special weight race, and now she gets to face the New York Stallion Series, the New York bred and New York sired runners. Do you think she fits it all in here? At least she flashed some speed last time out.
Yeah, she got to the front end, but did it through some pretty moderate fractions against weaker foes at Finger Lakes and got a decent speed figure for that venue. It just feels like she's going to have to improve again against a much tougher field than she beat last time. So she wasn't for me at a big price.
Mischief Lady is the 3, and the only race on a fast dirt track was actually a win here at Aqueduct for her. Her other 2 races have been on the turf at Saratoga and on a sloppy track over at Finger Lakes in a stakes race when she finished 2nd behind Stone Smuggler. So this was not a bad effort, David, and the horse that she's beating and holding off here was a horse named Usha, who was coming over from Southern California, who actually had faced Open Company and faced some pretty tough Bob Baffert runners before this. So what did you think about this performance and how she fits with this group?
I really like the progression for this filly. They tried the turf first time out, even though she really doesn't have any turf pedigree at all. And I just feel like that was probably a prep race for the improvement to come. And she took a step forward when they tried Stakes Company in her second start. That Ladyfinger chasing home today's rival, Stone Smuggler, I thought staying on pretty well at the end of that race. And then last time showed that improved early speed to actually beat Usha to the front end, even though that former Bob Baffert trainee had shown a lot of early speed in her open company races out in California. And Mischief Lady was able to display some more stamina than that rival through the stretch to pull away late. She's out of a dam named Miss Buff, who is the full sister to that New York bred stalwart Mr. Buff, who competed here for so many years and was a specialist going two-turn or mile and above route distances. And when you watch Mischief Lady run, she's a sizable daughter of Honest Mischief, who to me looks like a horse that has been crying out for more ground than the 6 furlongs that she's gotten up until this point. And she strikes me as one that is going to appreciate the 7, but she might have to do it racing in the teeth of a quick pace.
Yeah, that's the key, right? Is she going to be in between other horses? Because I agree with you. I like the progression that she's shown. Next one up is Idle Gossip. She's a last out stakes winner on a muddy track at Finger Lakes. This will actually be the first start away from Finger Lakes, but we can understand why for the big money. Everyone's going to be coming in here trying to take a swing and see if they can get a piece of that. So where does Idle Gossip fit with this group?
If you haven't seen this filly's debut race, it's worth a watch if you go into Formulator and pull up the replay at Finger Lakes. She was going to win that race easily before she decided to just take a right turn and head towards the chute at the top of the stretch. A horse that obviously has shown some talent from the start, just kind of figuring out those mental quirks has been the big issue for her. It just feels like she's really gained professionalism, though, through racing, because she showed a new dimension last time to close from off the pace to get the job done, winning by a neck over stakes rivals at Finger Lakes. She's just never really run a speed figure that makes her competitive with this field, and this is a big step up in class.
Next one up, Blossoming Erudite. Lone Wind came going gate to wire on the turf. Tried open company, was overmatched last time out in that open company stakes race when at 35 to 1. Was able to hold on by a neck in winning that race back on October the 10th. These are the horses that I get a tough read on because when you didn't really show a whole lot of success on the main track, maybe a little bit of speed, but the best race of the 3 by far feels like the grass race. I can understand why they're here, but I couldn't really get a feel for this one.
Yeah, she ran okay on debut behind Boston's Finest, but couldn't really finish off that race after contesting the pace. She's got plenty of turf pedigree. I liked her getting on the turf second time out, and she delivered a victory that day, but did so setting a pretty moderate pace for that level, and then wasn't competitive against tougher last time, and just feels like this might not be the right spot for her.
Queen Atlas was a debut winner against Open Company at Finger Lakes, then tried Stakes Foes last time out, was involved sitting in about 2 or 3 lengths behind and then just kind of faded. But that was that race behind Idle Gossip, who we just mentioned a few moments ago.
Yeah, and we were struggling to make Idle Gossip fast enough to be competitive with this field, and she beat this horse by 18 lengths. So a little tough to make a case for Queen Atlas.
Boston's Finest feels like a horse who's a major player in here. She has 3 races, the last 2 in particular, I thought really, really nice. In that most recent effort, she was behind With the Angels, who, if she was in this race, would be the heavy, heavy, heavy favorite. Boston's Finest was sitting second, just to the outside of the heavy favorite With the Angels that day, was never more than about 2 lengths off. Took a shot at the winner, was a clear-cut second best, was about 4.5 lengths clear of the third place finisher. So that was a good effort. That was going a little bit longer. Tactical speed, the cutback. I think lots of positives for Boston's Finest in here.
Yeah, we'll take a look at the stretch run of that Maid of the Mist where she chased home With the Angels, and With the Angels was a heavy, heavy favorite in this race, and Boston's Finest gave her a little bit of a challenge at the top of the stretch here. Jose Ortiz had to set down With the Angels to put this filly away, as Boston's Finest was clearly second best in this race, running the best buyer of her career of 73, a number that makes her very competitive in here. And I really like the way she's striding out at the end of this race. You can see she's really reaching for the wire, getting the mile distance with no problem. So I don't think you have to worry about stamina. If anything, I'm a little concerned that 7 furlongs might be a little short for her, because she strikes me as one that is going to be better going those route distances in the future. But she showed quality against a good rival last time, and I think she's the horse to beat in here.
Storm Changer had a really impressive debut win. It was a slow start. It put her last of last. She was about 8 lengths off, but she kept to the rail. And then she moved in between horses before making this huge move where she shot back to the inside and she just gallops by. It was a big effort But I had a question for you because I wanted to take a little page out of the David Aragona book. I wanted to go back and look at a lot of the races that day, and it seemed like a lot of the horses that won that day were horses that benefited from saving a lot of ground throughout the day. Was that one of those races when the rail was pretty good? That's not usually one of my handicapping angles, but it's something that I learn a little bit more from you and Andy Serling, who kind of go back and look at sometimes how the pace shape in an entire day is. Was this one of those days where you kind of wanted to be closer to the inside?
I didn't have this day marked as a rail bias track, but it's one that I can go back and look at and check it out. And I think you always are helped by taking a look at the charts, which you can easily do in DRF Formulator and watching replays, looking at where horses came from to be successful, not just winning races, but how they ran to achieve, the top 2-3 positions throughout the dirt races that day. And you could see, as you mentioned, you accurately described, Storm Changer tried to ankle out of the top of the stretch and made that really deft move back down to the inside to fly up the rail at the end. And I really liked the way she picked up her stride and quickened the cadence of her legs to get up there at the end. I mean, she was really trying across the finish line. It was a slow race, and she's going to have to do better in here. But we've been talking about how much speed is signed on in here. This filly, if she's able to get a similar trip in here, she's going to be picking up pieces at the end.
Yeah, I think if you're looking for the race to set up that way, this is one of the horses that you probably want to include in your exotics. From the opposite end of the spectrum, you have the number 9, Diza Rock, who you pointed out might be the fastest horse in here, was in front of the very quick With the Angels last time out in the Key Sense, faded to finish 5th that day, but wasn't all that far behind Stone Smuggler and others that are in this race. So Diza Rock, probably one of the really, really fast horses in here. It's just going to be like a battle of attrition, I think, for some of these speeds up front early on.
Yeah, she beat much weaker on debut, facing $40,000 maiden claimers. Was a decisive winner that day, and actually ran better than I was expecting at 44-1 in the Key Sense last time. But watching the replay of that race, I mean, she's a smaller daughter of Busted Stones. Doesn't exactly give you confidence that she's going to be able to take that step forward, stretching out to 7 furlongs, especially in a race that features so much other speed. So she might have her work cut out for her this time.
Princess Mischief feels like she could get a really nice setup. She's one of the true closers in this race. Her first couple starts, she just couldn't get out of the gate quickly. She was facing horses that are faster than her, that have much more tactical speed, that can make their own trip. And then last time out, she got a race that set up really well for her, and she came absolutely flying. She was 10 lengths off and was just very impressive. She goes from 10 back to win by 5 on a sloppy track, which is something you don't normally see, going only 6.5 furlongs. It's like a 15-length turnaround in a race on a sloppy track.
This race was visually impressive. You could see it in the replay here. She was dead last when they turned for home at the top of the stretch, and she just mows this field down and wins gear down into the wire. It was sort of a patented Joao Rosario ride, as he was so patient in the early stages, just had her under a strong hold, a dozen lengths off the pace of the back of the pack, not worried at all about what was happening on the front end, just kind of confident that pace was going to come back. And boy, did it ever. The race just kind of fell into her lap. But at the same time, she really did fire a big shot through the lane. So she got a great pace setup that day. She might get another one here. I still think she's going to have to run a little faster.
Okay, so if I were to go into my Material Girl impression right now, I think Dan Illman would give me the call and be like, no more videos for Gino. Lucia probably would be agreeing, like, you're not going to see me on the preview videos anymore. So I'll save everybody from me singing Madonna here as we get to Material Girl David, who's still a maiden right now, trying to get into the winner's circle for the first time.
I guess it's kind of appropriate that Material Girl is taking a shot for this $500,000 purse rather than running for the maiden race that she's eligible for. Going out for some strong connections in Chad Brown, who also has Boston's Finest in here. Manny Franco, who is the regular jock for Material Girl, is going to wind up on that potential favorite instead. I just wanted to see her show a little more last time, because you hope to see some progression from these Chad second-time starters after they show a little something on debut, which she did, but she actually went backwards in that second start, arguably should have been disqualified because she fouled a rival around the far turn that day and still couldn't finish off the race going this distance. I just think she'd have to run better.
So even in a material world, we are not material guys. Keep that in mind, okay? As we move to Stone Smuggler and we round out the field, coming off a third place effort. And this one feels like one of the top contenders. I thought this was a pretty good effort, David. This horse was 3 deep, was always within a length early on, came up to the 2-path to challenge at the top of the lane, got challenged to the outside by Bam Bam, but was able to actually hold that rival off and finish third. So pretty good performance here. And I didn't think it was like the smoothest of trips for this horse. It's kind of in between. Horse was kind of like hard ridden and asked for some throughout the race, but a pretty good performance, and it should stack up well with this group.
Yeah, I agree with that. I thought she was pretty game last time because she was, as you said, right between those two speeds, was battling every step of the way, and she was able to find enough to sort of win that pace battle, but she got run down by the two Linda Rice closers at the end, including the aforementioned With the Angels, who has beaten a lot of these horses, so no disgrace losing to that one, which Stone Smuggler has done actually twice now. She's finished both second and third to With the Angels, having been beaten by that horse on debut. I think her form stacks up really well against this field. She's another one that I wonder if the added distance is really going to work for her, but at least she's drawn in the far outside post, so Jose Lezcano can sort of have the option to gradually work her forward down the back stretch, and maybe she'll be able to relax a little bit in the early stages. She's a contender in here.
So let's move to the selections. For me, David, I'm playing this race like it's going to be a hot pace early on. So the two horses that I'm using from off the pace are horses that you also have in the mix as well. Both the 10 and the 8, I think, are the closers. I use the 7 and the 12 as kind of the measuring stick horses for this field, the horses to beat in here. So I'll go for a little value with Princess Mischief on top. You've talked about Mischief Lady and the progression that you like to see from her.
Yeah, Mischief Lady, I'm a little concerned about the trip that she's going to work out from the inside with speed, but I just think this horse has real talent. If you look at Timeform US speed figures, she's got the highest number in the field, a 105 last time, which kind of makes her a standout in this race. We'll see if that fast number holds up coming into this one, but the Eddie Barker barn has been just firing on all cylinders for the past few months in New York, and I think that they've got a filly that's coming into great form right now in Mischief Lady, so just hoping that she is the right price, but I do also have some interest in that closer that you mentioned, the number 8 Storm Changer.
Folks, as you're doing some of your holiday shopping this weekend, don't forget a great gift are the Daily Racing Form gift cards. If you're not sure what to get one of the horse players in your life, you know they're going to be using the Daily Racing Form, the products, the betting strategies that David is a part of, the Clocker reports, all of those. Get them a Daily Racing Form gift card. They will love it. It'll help them with their bankroll. It'll help save them some money, and you can check off some of those horse players in your life when it comes to the Christmas shopping. Have a great one.
If you enjoyed this video, please click the like and subscribe button below for more great DRF content, including Race of the Days, stakes previews, and lots more. You can find it right here.